On Wednesday, the Bank of Canada made a decision regarding its benchmark interest rate. Host of Real Ag Radio, Sean Haney, is going to join us now with the latest. Sean, what was the governor's decision on this hike, and why did they decide to go this route?
Hey, good to be with you here this morning. So the Bank of Canada Governor, Tiff Macklem, made the decision to hold rates at 5%. Based on some recent economic data, this was kind of the expected path that a lot of economists were expecting. The Bank of Canada is quoted as saying the Canadian economy has entered a period of weaker growth. Now, there is some concern in Canada about the Canadian economy maybe experiencing a little bit of a deeper recession issue than the neighboring U.S. economy. And right now in Canada, there is a ton of focus on housing prices and housing affordability in the country. There actually was a recent research study that came out talking about I think it was 40% of Canadians were feeling mental health issues related to inflation, food prices, housing prices, and alike. So this is probably a very welcome decision by a lot of stakeholders.
I was going to say, I wonder if that had, any reasoning or maybe an indicator as to why they decided to do this. So what are you hearing? What's the reaction from farmers and, say, other stakeholders?
Yeah, I don't think farmers are going to complain whatsoever. There's a lot of farm debt out in the country. And if you're trying to renew your mortgage, or you've got some floating mortgages, this is going to be a very, very welcome decision indeed, I am sure, across farm country. One thing that has sort of happened on this rate decision that may be a little bit different than some of the others is some of the political commentary around it. Leading into this decision, Ontario Premier Ford made a comment that the Bank of Canada need to do the right thing and hold rates where they are. That's an unusual comment. Bank of Canada is supposed to be somewhat independent of the government. And then after the decision yesterday, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, she made the comment that she was pleased with the decision. Kind of strange times for the Bank of Canada's independence as really consumers are feeling a lot of the brunt here.
Absolutely. And I think here, too, in the state, Sean, we talk about it a lot, whether we're going to be getting another interest rate hike here. So it's nice to see that, there where you are, that they're holding. But, economic indicators, what are they looking for? What could possibly cause them to go back to the table and go back and reevaluate this? Yeah,
unemployment starts to go down again. That would definitely be, I think, a key feature that a lot of people are definitely watching. Obviously, also things like GDP growth. The Bank of Canada is going to make another decision on October 25th, so look out for that. Also, StatsCan is going to release the August labor force survey on Friday. That's going to show the latest on job creation, unemployment, and wage growth. So watching some of those numbers will be, I think, a key piece. And we also have, like you mentioned, the Federal Reserve has a decision coming up as well. Canada will obviously be watching that very closely with how tightly our economies are tied together.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. If that's an influence, too, as to what's going to be happening here because of the business that we do together, if that could influence them going back and reevaluating this.
Yeah, I think it's something that is paid attention to. Is it a direct influence? I'm not sure, but it's definitely something that the Bank of Canada and Canadians in general pay attention to. Obviously, like I mentioned, our economies are tied so closely together. We're influenced. We feel the impact. So if the U.S. had a recession, it's very, very natural that Canada it would create a bit of a wave effect where Canada would feel some of that same sort of pressure, even with some of its own domestic issues. So Canadians are following very, very closely what's happening in the U.S. when it comes to some of your economic numbers, indeed, because there's so much trade that happens both ways. It's not two puzzle pieces that can just be separated and looked upon as these are two mutually exclusive economies. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of ties that bind, I guess, is the way to put it when you look at the two countries.
Absolutely. And I know you're going to be doing a deeper dive on this and other topics. Always great to have you. And I'm talking about your show, host of Real Ag Radio, Sean Haney. And you want to catch him. Real Ag Radio airs 4:30 p.m. Eastern. That's weekdays on Rural Radio Channel 147. That's on Sirius XM. And love having Sean and his entire team here join us on the Market Day Report.